you were invited to give a guest talk to students at Indiana University, and I guess it went pretty well because they offered you a job.
Yes. Well, I don't know if we have the Performing Music with Understanding book up there or not, but another director in another district in St. Louis County and I wrote this book kind of together. Actually, I think I did most of the work, but we did two versions, sort of in a performance situation. Are there things that they could learn about the music while they're also, other than just playing the right notes at the right time?
Now, is that tied into the larger comprehensive musicianship movement that was going on? No?
This was before that.
Okay.
So this was about 1971, around that era. So we were kind of ahead of that. The book didn't sell very well, never did, but I think it was maybe in one way the most innovative thing I ever wrote, but it was too advanced. It included both instrumental and choral music, and that absolutely blew a lot of music. Some band directors or choral directors away. I mean, I have to include something else. Wow. What about a word for piano? Oh, no, don't do that. And also, it was in program style. Program was, program learning. Do you understand the term? I mean, this is so antiquated, I'm probably not using the right term. But,
I just had it closed because it was noisy out there.
so between those three things, I think it was just way too advanced for the market. And if I would do it again, I'd have to really radically reduce it, shorter, less expensive, specialized for bands, specialized for orchestra, specialized for choral. But anyway, I never got around to that. It's still up here, I guess, but that's probably where it will reside.
So the book came before Indiana or while you were at
Before.
Before. And that's what you were invited to talk about? When you
Partly, yes, partly. So I did talk about that, and yeah, I'm very interested in that.
So you came back home after your talk and they called you up and they said, would you like to come teach here at IU? And you said yes.
Well, they suggested an interview.
Oh.
I don't know if any of the professors here remember there were days when you could have an interview and they could hire you the same day.
I remember.
It's happened to you, Russ?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, now, if we don't start in January, and with all that, and not for a permanent position, but for 1 year, of course, it's not that problem, but for a permanent one, it's long and complicated. I don't know if we get better people that way or not. That's, who knows? Anyway.
So you went to IU, and during the time you were there, you were president of the Indiana Music Educators Association. You were president of the North Central Division of MENC. What are some other highlights of those years while you were at IU?
Well, I finally became president.
That
promoted
a little bit later, right? That was that year here.
No, I was president when I was at Indiana.
President?
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Got ahead of myself. Well, we did the divisional. At this point, North Central was not giving. We gave our conference in Kansas City with the Southwest Division and the North Central Division. And it was 1976, and we thought, well, we'll emphasize the 200th anniversary, and we try to have the music now and in the future and so on. So we were looking for a major speaker, and I got this idea, maybe we could have Howard Hanson. We tried Aaron Copland, we couldn't get him, and then so I called up a guy I knew at Eastman. I said, what would get Howard Hanson here? Because, he doesn't need the money and that stuff. But he said, well, he's got this new work he'd like to do, New Land, New Hope, or something that he'd written for the Theological Seminary, I think at Princeton. And he said, if you would perform that, I think that he'd be willing to come for $1,000, pay his expenses, and give him the suite because he wants to smoke his cigar and his wife can't stand it. So okay, we worked all those details out. So this gets very profound. You follow me? class ticket, because he was a big man. He's about 6'4", 6'5", and probably as near a genius as a person I ever knew. And he gave one whale of a talk, and they did the performance. It was wonderful. So that, I think that made it a highlight of that convention, Kansas City thing. I'm not sure we made money for MENC, but we did. So I consider some of those things, I think, really helpful.
So, 18 years, I believe, at Indiana, 18 years in Indiana, and then you saw an advertisement in 1984 for a position at this little university in the South called the University of Florida. And you applied for it, and did you have to interview for that one?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. Applied, interviewed, and became head of music education here in 1984.
Well, David Wilmot had been heading it up, and David retired. And some of you, that's just a name, but he had been state music supervisor in Florida, and he took a position here. So it actually was advertised, I think I was interviewed on April Fool's Day, which was probably appropriate. And they also interviewed a couple other people, and I didn't hear. I would go into May, and the other said, well, they probably offered it to another man, but he's turned it down. Whoa, good. And they made an offer to me, and that kind of worked out. But there was definitely an interview there. Thank you. So that worked out. It's been a happy change. Indiana was really, you got a little bit of the feeling you're in a factory. The students had a T-shirt that had a factory. This music building had a smokestack coming out. Because as I told your class a couple of weeks ago, we had 1,000 undergraduate music majors, 500 graduate, 1,500 total enrollment. I mean, wow. 5 orchestras, 3, opera. They would do a month-long 3 or 4 performances, and then another opera. And these weren't babies. These were Boris Godunov and top operas, some Wagner. And of course, some of the lead roles had to be sung by grad students or faculty, because you don't do Wagner when you're 21 years old as a soprano or bass. So in that sense, it was a tremendous performance school. Violinists coming out of the woodwork almost. And star teachers, Janos Starker on cello, and Gingold on violin, and that was tremendous. But music ed was kind of on the tail. We were always battling to get what we thought were good students in, students who were bright, who were musical, who could do a lot of things like music educators have to do, but who could do more than just play a tremendous piece of music on the violin and cello. So in that sense, this is what made this school attractive. I really didn't move down for the weather, honest. I appreciate it, except in the summer, I guess. The summer gets a little tedious.
So when you came here in '84, this early period at Florida saw the publication of textbooks in elementary and graduate music education. You were also elected as president of the Music Educators National Conference.
I'm glad you got notes on this, because I blew that question.
You were president from 1988 to 1990. So if you could remember back to that kind of period there, the end of the 80s, what were some of the major initiatives and activities during your presidency at MENC?
We were doing the national standards, and at that point, I chaired the revision of that. Paul Lehman had done the first edition version, and then about 10 years later, we did an update of that. The standards really didn't deal a lot with curricular issues, but they dealt with, should you have your pianos tuned twice a year? What should you have in the ways of equipment and time and certified teachers and things like that? Things that could be easily identified. But we're trying to say if you want to have a good music program, you should be able to allow enough instructional time and with the proper equipment and all those things. And that's what really the standards started out with as. And then, of course, the whole standards movement going nationally for all subject matter areas. With the national standards, there were 7 major subject matter areas, and the arts were just one of them. It was English and social studies and PE and math and other areas. So then that was when they were just coming on about 1990. So I served on the committee for that also. And remember, we brought them out about, I think that has a 94 copyright. But we had to have it finished about 93. So what you know is that national standards were done at that time. And they dealt with curriculum. And we figured we had the other things in terms of time, certified teachers, and adequate facilities. We had those covered already. We had been doing that for about 20 years.
Did those sort of become the opportunity to learn standards? And then there were new content standards to go along with those?
Well, we keep adjusting those, yes, and kind of updating and so on. It's sort of like the FCAT test in Florida. It's just, I guess, going to limbo on 1 more year. And then some companies were supposed to do a new version. We are not involved with that, are you?
Not with that one, no. That's American Institutes of Research. They're an organization out of Washington, D.C. that got a tiny little $220 million contract from the DOE to do it.
And I wonder if it'll be any better. They're
Well,
still
I was
the
involved
same
in
problems.
the music one. I was involved in the music one, but this is for the entire FCAT, so it's
Yeah,
completely different.
this is just, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is.
Well, there have been a lot of things that have happened since that time, including you were inducted into the Florida Music Educators Association Hall of Fame in 1997, and then the Music Educators National Conference Hall of Fame, now NAFME, in 2006. You officially retired last May from full-time duty, and if my math is correct, you taught either at the elementary, secondary, or university levels for a total of 62 years, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure I got it right.
Well, the good news is you're not completely retired yet. You're still advising some graduate projects. You're teaching online. Are you teaching your music appreciation class still? Yeah. And in our online master's program, in fact, you're starting a class a week from Monday. History and philosophy.
Sunday.
Oh, that's right. You're starting on Sunday. Charles likes a little different schedule.
Sunday's supposed to be the first day of the week, so.
A week from Sunday, Historical and Philosophical Foundation of Music Education.
It's the second time through that.
It was the very first class in our online master's program, and now we're ready to start coming around again, and we've got that all set to go a week from Sunday. So,
There are a couple people in the room here that are surprised to hear that.
which is that?
Dr. Duff and Sandy would be teaching sections of it, and then Dave Edmond and his wife up in Duluth, Minnesota would do the others. Am I leaving out anybody? No. I guess so. We'll find out who our students are pretty soon, right?
Yes, as soon as we log into the course, you should be able to see.
Really?
Yeah.
So I finally got the section number.
It's a process. It's a process.